Welcome back, everyone. Today we'll be taking a deep dive into some of Europe's most spine-tingling locations. Those places where history and mystery, they kind of intertwine. You know, those spots that leave us with stories that make our skin crawl. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. There's always something captivating about those haunted manors, caves that hold dark secrets, and islands just shrouded in unsettling legends. It's like a window into our collective fascination with the unexplained, those fears and beliefs.
Yeah.
And how they shape our understanding of the world.
It's wild. We've got some seriously incredible tales to unravel today. But first, let's set off to the quiet countryside of Dorset, England, a place called Bediscombe Manor.
Bediscombe Manor?
Now I know what you're thinking, oh, another haunted house. But trust me, this one's got a twist. It's home to the legend of the Screaming Skull.
The Screaming Skull, huh? That sounds ominous.
Oh, it is. The legend goes back centuries to when the Pinney family owned the manor. So the story goes that one of their slaves, a man brought from Nevis, died on the estate. On his deathbed, he begged to be returned to his homeland for burial. Sadly, they ignored his pleas. He was buried locally. And well, that's when things took a turn for the creepy.
Ah, here we go. What happened? Did they start seeing things?
It's said that the family started experiencing all sorts of unsettling phenomena. Unsettling noises, objects moving on their own, just a general sense of unease that just wouldn't let up, like something wasn't right.
I can imagine. It's like, you know that feeling when you know you're being watched? That's got to be unsettling.
Totally. So imagine you're the Pinney family, right?
Yeah.
What would you do?
I don't know. I mean, I'd probably call a priest or something.
Well, they did something even more drastic. They exhumed the body and brought the skull into the manor.
Wait, what? They brought the skull inside? That doesn't seem like the best idea.
Right. You'd think that would make things worse, but according to the legend, the disturbances actually stopped for a bit. Peace at last.
So bringing the skull inside actually worked.
It did. But there's a catch. Whenever they tried to remove the skull, the unsettling activity would start up again. Worse than before.
Seriously? So it was like the skull was the source of the haunting or something?
Exactly. It's like it was attached to the house, refusing to be separated.
That is so creepy. I'm picturing the skull just sitting there on a shelf, holding the whole household hostage with its spooky powers.
I know, it's wild. And it gets even creepier. Legend has it that on certain nights, especially around the anniversary of the slave's death, the skull emits these blood-curdling screams that echo through the manor.
Screams? You're kidding.
And that's not all. There's another element to this haunting, a spectral coach. They say it's seen speeding away from the manor on those same nights, heading towards the local churchyard.
Like it's reenacting the slave's funeral procession.
Exactly. Makes you think, doesn't it?
It really does. It's almost like an echo of the injustice he faced in life.
A haunting reminder of the wrongs of the past. Okay, so we've got a screaming skull in England. Now let's shift gears and head east to the Rhodope Mountains of Bulgaria. There's a place called Devil's Throat Cave. Ever heard of it?
Can't say that I have. Is it as ominous as it sounds?
Oh, you bet. Just picture this. A massive chasm in the earth, a waterfall cascading into its depths, just vanishing into the darkness below.
Vanishing.
Gone. Poof. No one knows where it goes.
Wow, okay, that is a little ominous. What happens to the water?
That's the mystery. They've tried everything. Dyes, objects, even brave cave divers. All vanished without a trace, like the cave just swallowed them whole.
That's both fascinating and kind of terrifying.
Right, it's like something out of a horror movie. And of course, where there's a good mystery, there are bound to be legends.
Oh yeah, I bet there are some wild stories about this place.
Local folklore whispers that the cave is an entrance to hell, where the devil collects his due. Some even believe it's a prison for fallen angels, the Nephilim.
Fallen angels, huh? Imprisoned in a cave that just swallows everything? That's definitely nightmare fuel.
Agreed. All right, ready for our next stop. We're heading to Italy, a place called Poveglia Island, a place where beauty and refuge transformed into death and despair.
Poveglia Island, that name rings a bell. Wasn't that a quarantine zone during the Black Death?
You got it. In the 14th century, Poveglia became a place of isolation for the sick and dying, a desperate attempt to contain the plague. Can you imagine the suffering, the terror?
It's hard to fathom to be sent to an island knowing it's likely a death sentence. It's heartbreaking.
It's estimated that over 160,000 people died there during that time. Their bodies were burned or left to decompose. The island itself became a mass grave. And to add another layer to this grim history, Centuries later, they built a mental hospital on the island.
A mental hospital on top of a plague island. That seems like a recipe for disaster.
It didn't exactly have a happy ending, let's just say that. Stories of cruel experiments, tortured souls. The director of the hospital is said to have gone mad and jumped from the island's clock tower, driven to despair by the weight of the island's tragic past.
Wow. That's intense.
Right. It's like the island itself is cursed.
No wonder locals won't go near it.
Exactly. They fear the spirits that are said to roam the decaying buildings and haunt its shores. Okay, we've got a screaming skull, a cave that swallows everything, a plague island turned mental asylum. Ready for our final stop on this haunted European tour.
Hit me.
We're going to Germany, to the Spandau Citadel in Berlin. Now this one's a little different. It's not just about ghosts and ghouls, but about the tragic story of Anna Seidau.
Anna Seidau.
She was the mistress of King Joachim II. When he died, he entrusted her care to his son. You'd think she'd be safe, right? But she was betrayed, imprisoned within the citadel, and eventually she died there.
That's awful. What a betrayal.
Right. So the story goes that her restless spirit now roams the halls, forever searching for a way out. She appears as a white lady, a figure of sorrow and despair, a haunting reminder of the injustice she suffered.
A white lady. That's a classic ghost story image. I wonder why that figure is so common in these tales.
It's a good question. Maybe it's the contrast of white against the darkness makes it more frightening.
Could be.
Well, whatever the reason, Anna's story, like the others we've discussed, highlights the enduring power of the past.
Yeah, and how these locations become repositories for those unresolved emotions, the injustices that echo through time.
Exactly. The slaves longing for home at Beddiscombe Manor, the mystery of Devil's Throat Cave, the suffering of Poveglia Island, and the betrayal of Anna Seidau at Spandau Citadel. It's fascinating, isn't it?
It is. It's like these places hold on to these stories, these emotions, reminding us that the past is never really gone. It shapes our present in ways we might not always understand.
So true.
You know, as we dig deeper into these stories, it makes you wonder if there's a connection between the intensity of, like, the emotions surrounding these events and the strength of the paranormal activity. What do you think?
You know, that's an interesting thought. There's this theory in parapsychology that suggests strong emotions can kind of leave an imprint on a place, like an energetic residue.
Interesting. Almost like if you walk into a room where there's like a huge argument, you can kind of still feel the tension, right?
Exactly, like an echo of the past.
Yeah, and places like Beddiscombe Manor, where the slaves' desire for home was so strong and denied, or Poveglia Island, with all the suffering during the Black Death and later at the mental hospital, those emotions might linger, you know? Become part of the fabric of the place.
It's heavy stuff. Not just about ghosts, but the energy of emotions, the sheer weight of human suffering.
Right. It's like these locations become unintentional memorials, not to a specific person, but to the collective emotions experienced there.
It's pretty profound when you think about it.
Yeah.
And it brings us to another fascinating aspect of these hauntings, the way they're perceived and interpreted in different cultures.
Yeah, it's interesting how some cultures view ghosts as like malevolent spirits, while others see them as ancestors or protectors. Shapes how people interact with these places.
For sure. Some might avoid these locations out of fear, while others might see them as sacred. Makes you wonder if there's a universal truth about ghosts and hauntings, or if it's all just, like, subjective.
Right. Is there one answer? It's a question that's been debated forever.
Seriously. So what are your thoughts? Is it real or all in our heads?
I honestly don't know if we'll ever know for sure, but that's what makes these stories so fascinating. The mystery, the unknown, the possibility that there's more to reality than we can see or understand.
Absolutely. It's like a glimpse behind the curtain. Speaking of which, let's go back to Devil's Throat Cave for a sec. That vanishing river, it's incredible.
Oh yeah, I totally forgot about that.
I mean, scientifically speaking, where does all that water go?
Geologists have been studying the cave for ages, trying to map it out, solve the mystery of the disappearing river.
Any luck?
Not really. There are some theories, like underground rivers, complex drainage systems, but nothing conclusive. The cave is holding on to its secrets.
Of course it is, which only makes those legends about it being a gateway to hell even more intriguing, right?
Right. The cave represents the unknown, the mystery science can't fully explain. Even with all our technology, there are still things we may never fully understand.
And maybe some mysteries are better left that way.
Maybe. But we can't help but try, right? Maybe one day we'll figure out Devil's Throat Cave.
Until then, the legends will do. Okay, let's get back to Anna Seidau at Spandau Citadel. Her story brings up some interesting questions about, like, the nature of hauntings, don't you think?
Oh, for sure. Like, are ghosts aware of where they are? Or are they stuck reliving the same moments? Do they know they're ghosts? Are they trying to, communicate?
Exactly. I mean, some believe that ghosts are like recordings of past events, echoes of energy that replay, like a broken record.
So Anna might not even know she's a ghost. Just reliving those last moments, the betrayal, the despair.
It's possible. Adds a whole other layer of tragedy to her story.
Yeah, for sure. It reminds us that hauntings aren't always about angry spirits or anything. Sometimes it's just, lingering pain and sorrow.
A haunting reminder indeed. I've been thinking about the whole white lady thing. It's so common in these stories, right? Why do you think that is?
Well, white symbolizes purity, innocence, makes the contrast with death and tragedy more impactful, I guess.
Yeah, maybe. Or a white figure just stands out in the dark. Spookier.
It's probably a mix of things, cultural and psychological. Whatever it is, it works. It's stuck with us for centuries.
Definitely still gives me the chills. As we wrap up this part of the deep dive, I'm struck by how different these places are. From England to Bulgaria, Italy, Germany, it's been a wild ride.
It really has. And yet there's a common thread, right?
Yeah.
Mystery, tragedy, the power of the past.
Totally. It connects with us no matter who we are or what we believe. It makes you think about the big questions.
Yeah, about life, death, the whole shebang.
So as we head into the final part of our deep dive, I'm curious, what else can these haunted locations teach us about ourselves, about the world we live in?
Those are the questions we'll be tackling next. Don't go anywhere.
Welcome back, everyone, for this final part of our deep dive into Europe's most haunted locations. Man, it's been quite a journey, right?
It really has. We've been from England to Bulgaria, Italy, Germany, uncovered some incredible tales along the way.
Restless spirits, unexplained phenomena. We've even talked about the enduring power of the past. Whether we believe in ghosts or not, these stories, they really tap into something deep within us,
Absolutely. That fascination with the unknown, those things that go bump in the night, it's primal,
Totally. And I think beyond the chills and thrills, these stories, they give us a unique way to look at our own beliefs and our relationship with the unknown.
They make us question what we think we know, challenge our ideas about reality. It's like, is this real? Is it all in our heads?
Right. And I think that's why ghost stories, haunted locations, they never get old. They keep us coming back for more.
Across cultures, throughout history, it's a constant. It speaks to our fear of the unknown, our curiosity about what happens after we die, that desire to connect with something bigger than ourselves.
That's what I find so cool about these deep dives. We start with these spooky stories, but we end up uncovering something much deeper, something that personally resonates with us.
It's true. We start asking those big questions about life, death, and everything in between.
Exactly. And in a world where, technology and rationality dominate everything, where we're always bombarded with information, these stories offer a glimpse of something, magical, something that reminds us that we don't have all the answers.
That not everything can be explained or controlled. There's still mystery out there.
Right. And that's kind of beautiful, isn't it?
It is. They remind us that there are still things we don't understand, and that's okay. It's okay to embrace the unknown, to let ourselves get swept away by a good ghost story.
Because sometimes it's the not knowing, the wondering, that keeps us engaged. It keeps us curious about the world.
Who knows? Maybe there's a little bit of truth to some of these legends. Maybe those whispers we hear in the dark, they are something more than just the wind. Wouldn't that be something?
To think there's more to reality than what we can see. That these stories aren't just stories, but glimpses into another dimension or something.
Mind-blowing. But even if they're not, even if they are just stories, they still matter.
Right. They challenge our thinking, they spark our imaginations, and they connect us to the history of storytelling.
We're part of a long line of storytellers, going back centuries, sharing these tales around campfires and pubs, whispering them in the dark.
It's almost like we're keeping those memories alive, honoring the people who came before us, the people who experienced these events, acknowledging that there's more to the world than meets the eye.
It's powerful stuff. So, as we wrap up our haunted European adventure, I want you to think about something. The next time you find yourself in an old castle, a dark forest, a deserted island, just take a moment to listen.
Really listen to the wind, the creaking floorboards, the rustling leaves. How does it make you feel?
You never know what stories those sounds might be trying to tell you.
Well, that's it for this deep dive. Until next time, stay curious, keep exploring. And if you happen to see a ghost, let us know.
We'd love to hear about it.